Commander Ryker Hale already knew this night was a bad idea. Helion Station floated above a lava world, but the real heat was in his chest. Another project rejected. Months of work on his new drive had earned him nothing but a polite "thank you for your service" from Fleet Command. So when Lieutenant Commander Sailavaran sent him a short message, "Report to my quarters. We need to talk," he went. Her room was quiet and dim, lit by soft blue panels. Sayla stood by her desk, violet skin catching the light, silver hair tied back in a strict knot. On the desk, 2 glasses of clear Helari moon wine were already poured. "This is not regulation, ma'am," Ryker said, trying to joke. "Tonight, I do not feel like regulation," she answered. "Sit, Commander. You look like you are about to punch a bulkhead." They talked. At first it was work, engine cores, budget cuts, the new Helari delegation arriving tomorrow. But the more they spoke, the more formal words slipped away. Ryker found himself laughing, then complaining, then laughing again. Sayla laughed too, a sound he almost never heard on duty. 1 glass became 2. The room felt smaller, warmer. He noticed details he usually forced himself to ignore. The faint glow under her skin, the way her eyes caught tiny reflections of light. "This drive of yours," she said at last, swirling her glass. "It could change how the Alliance moves through space." "Could have," he muttered. "Fleet shut it down." "For now," she corrected. "You are stubborn, Ryker Hale. That is one of your worst and best traits." He smiled. "Coming from you, I'll take it as a compliment." Silence fell. Not uncomfortable, just heavy. Ryker realized how close they were sitting. His knee almost touched hers. Her shoulder brushed his every time she shifted. "This is a bad idea," he said softly. "Yes," she agreed, just as softly. But she did not move away. For a heartbeat, they simply looked at each other. Officer and officer. Human and Helari. He leaned in without really deciding to. She did too. At the last second, Sayla's hand came up between them. "No," she whispered, breath warm against his lips. Her fingers rested lightly on his chest. "We cross this line, we do not go back. I am your superior officer. You are my chief engineer. I cannot afford this complication." Ryker pulled back at once. The spell broke. His face burned with shame and frustration. "Right? Of course, ma'am. I'm sorry." "Do not be sorry," she said. Her voice was calm, but he saw the struggle in her eyes. "Just go before I change my mind." He stood, straightened his uniform, and forced a small grin. "Yes, ma'am. Thanks for the drink." He left her quarters and stepped into the corridor, heart still racing. That should have been the end of it. But as he turned the first corner, he slammed into someone coming the other way. Hands grabbed for balance. Fabric shifted. For a heartbeat, his palm landed on bare skin at the small of a back. Warm, smooth, violet. Sayla. Her uniform had come loose, exposing a patch of skin he was never meant to see. In the center of that skin, glowing faintly under his hand, was a perfect geometric mark. Lines and angles, sharp and exact, like a tiny circuit burned into flesh. Not a scar. Not natural. Something else. Sayla's eyes went wide with pure fear. "Ryker," she whispered, voice shaking. "Please, forget what you just saw." He knew, in that instant, that he never could. Ryker didn't sleep. Couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw that mark glowing on Sayla's back. Sharp lines, perfect angles, nothing like a scar. It felt less like a wound and more like a warning. Bio 300 hours, he was still sitting in his dim quarters, scrolling through every Helari biology file the human database allowed. Nothing. No patterns. No markings. No cultural tattoos. All empty. "Computer," he whispered, rubbing his eyes. "Search Helari military programs. Any reference to body marks, implants, or genetic symbols. Access denied." Of course. He leaned back in his chair, frustrated. He wasn't supposed to know. He wasn't supposed to even look. A sudden chime made him jump. Someone at his door. His heart froze. "Computer, who is it?" "Lieutenant Commander Sailavaran." Ryker stood so fast his chair slid back. "Enter." The door slid open. Sayla stepped inside, still in uniform, hair tied tight, face pale. Not the strong, controlled officer he knew. This Sayla looked scared. Truly scared. "We must talk," she said, voice tight. "No one else can hear this." He locked the door. She didn't sit. She paced, arms crossed, fingers trembling. You saw something I've kept hidden for 15 years, she began. Something I can't let anyone know. Sayla, I didn't mean to. I know, she cut in. But intention doesn't matter. If anyone else saw it, I'd be dead by now. Ryker swallowed hard. What is it? She stopped pacing. Her shoulders rose with a slow breath. It is called an obsidian mark. Her voice softened. It means I am, not like other Hellari. Ryker frowned. Not like them how? She hesitated, then touched the back of her neck where the mark hid beneath her uniform. I was part of a secret project. A forbidden one. The Hellari government officially denied it. But it existed. They selected children with strong genetic potential and, she faltered, changed us. Changed you. Ryker whispered. Enhanced us, she corrected bitterly. Strength. Reflexes. Mental speed. Body endurance. We were meant to be perfect soldiers. Ryker felt a chill. And the mark? A control symbol, she said quietly. It's connected to my nervous system. They can track it. Activate it. Punish me with pain. Her eyes lowered. Or kill me, if they choose. Ryker felt sick. You escaped. I ran, she corrected. 3 years ago. I erased my identity, created new records, and joined the Alliance. I thought I was finally free. Her hands shook again. But yesterday, the Hellari diplomatic ship arrived early, and they have a device that can detect people like me. She looked up, eyes glowing with fear. They came here to find escaped units. To find me. Ryker's pulse hammered. Sayla, why didn't you tell anyone? Because the Alliance would hand me back. Her voice cracked. They always do. Politics is stronger than mercy. Ryker stepped closer. Not stronger than me. She stared at him, startled. Ryker, I don't care what they did to you. You're not some experiment. You're my officer. My friend. He hesitated. Maybe something more. The tension between them softened, but only for a moment. Sayla's jaw tightened. There is more, she whispered. Tomorrow, the Hellari will begin a full scan of the station. Their device can sense the obsidian frequency from anywhere. I have nowhere left to hide. Yes, you do, Ryker said instantly. I can block the frequency. Mask it. Give you time. Her eyes widened. Is that possible? Maybe. If I can analyze the signal when they use it. Sayla stepped closer, hope flickering for the first time. Why would you risk everything for me? She asked quietly. Ryker felt the answer rise before he could think. Because you're worth it. Before either of them could say more, the station's alarm suddenly echoed. Attention senior officers. Hellari delegation requesting immediate presence in the docking bay. Sayla's face drained of color. They're starting early, she whispered. Ryker grabbed his coat. Then we start early too. We'll face this together. For the first time that night, Sayla gave him a small, fragile smile. Together, she repeated. But deep down, they both knew. This was only the beginning. The docking bay felt colder than usual, even with the warming vents humming beneath the metal floor. Ryker stood in line with the other senior officers, trying to look calm while his heart battled against his ribs. The Hellari delegation stepped out of their sleek silver shuttle. 5 of them. Tall. Elegant. Eyes like polished glass. Their robes shimmered with geometric patterns, patterns too similar to the mark on Sayla's back. Ryker felt a chill. At the front stood Ambassador Rylan, smiling with perfect diplomacy. But behind him walked someone far more dangerous, Director Vaylor, the Hellari military's intelligence officer. His gaze scanned the room like a weapon. And then there was her. A woman with short silver hair carrying a narrow tablet, glowing with shifting blue symbols. Scientist Nairi. Ryker's wrist scanner vibrated gently under his sleeve. The frequency. It's here. Nairi's device was already scanning the room. She's picking up signals, Ryker realized. Sayla has minutes at most. Commander Holt stepped forward to greet the guests. Ryker forced a polite smile and dipped his head when introduced. Commander Ryker Hale, Ambassador Rylan said warmly. I am told you are the mind behind this station's propulsion upgrades. Trying my best, Ambassador, Ryker replied. Director Vaylor stepped closer. His presence felt like a blade pressed to Ryker's throat. You work in the deep sectors, yes? Vaylor asked. The tunnels, the maintenance grids, all areas with limited surveillance. Ryker shrugged casually. That's what engineers do. Vaylor's eyes narrowed like he was trying to peel apart Ryker's soul. Before the officer could probe further, Nairi's tablet emitted a small chime. Ryker's blood froze. Scientist Nairi tapped her screen, frowning. Unstable signal detected, very faint. Valor leaned over her shoulder. Is it a match? Not yet, she said, adjusting the device. But something is close. Ryker knew exactly what that something was. He casually lifted his hand to rub his forehead, the gesture he and Sailor agreed on. A warning signal. Move. Hide. Now. He finished the diplomatic greeting, exchanged a few more stiff smiles, and then slowly stepped away from the crowd as if responding to a routine comm. Once out of view, he slipped into a maintenance corridor and sprinted. He checked his comm. No reply. No signal. Sailor wasn't answering. Come on, come on. He reached the entrance to the lower tunnels and ducked inside, heart pounding. Finally, he heard her voice. Ryker. Sailor stood deeper inside the dark passage, clutching her side. Her skin faintly glowed along the mark's hidden lines. They've begun scanning, she whispered. I felt the pulse. Ryker rushed to her. Are you hurt? Just dizzy. She steadied herself. Where do we go? The outer maintenance ring. It's the only area with heavy shielding. They can't scan through it. Together, they hurried through the narrow tunnels lit only by flickering red emergency strips. The station's hum surrounded them, machinery, engines, electricity, life. Suddenly, voices. Hellary voices. They're searching the tunnels, Ryker muttered. We need to move now. He spotted a ladder leading to a small service shaft above. There. He boosted Sayla upward, then climbed in after her. The shaft was barely wide enough for one person. They pressed side by side, chest to chest, breath mingling. Below, the hunter's footsteps echoed. The signal moved through this area, Nairi's voice called. Spread out. She must be close. Sayla tensed so hard Ryker felt her shake. He placed one hand gently over hers. Stay calm. I'm right here. She nodded, but her breathing was uneven. The space was so tight that every breath made their bodies shift together. Her cool alien skin contrasted his human warmth. Minutes crawled by. Heavy. Silent. Merciless. Finally, the voices faded. Sayla let out a trembling breath. That was too close. Ryker turned his head slightly toward her. We'll stay ahead of them. We? She whispered. Yes, he said simply. I'm not leaving you alone. Her eyes softened in a way he had never seen. Not fear. Not panic. Something else. Trust. Before she could speak, another distant alarm echoed. A station-wide sweep was beginning. They're tightening the net, Ryker said. We have to reach the outer ring before they close the tunnels. Sayla nodded firmly. Lead the way. They started climbing again. Two fugitives hunted through the heart of a space station. Ryker didn't know what waited for them next. But he knew this. He would not let them take her. Sayla followed Ryker through the twisting metal tunnels, her breathing steady but her eyes sharp. Every sound echoed like a threat. Every vibration in the floor made her flinch. She knew these scanners better than anyone. They weren't just searching, they were hunting. Ryker finally stopped at a narrow maintenance junction and leaned against the wall, catching his breath. We're close to the outer ring, he said. But they're closing routes faster than I expected. Sayla checked the small access screen on the wall. Her hands trembled. They've sealed 3 corridors in the last 5 minutes. If they lock Section 12, we're trapped. Ryker swore under his breath and opened the station map on his wrist console. There's still one path left through the thermal conduits. It'll be hot, but it's open. Before Sayla could respond, Ryker's wrist communicator lit up. Captain Holt, report to command immediately. Now. Ryker froze. Sayla read the message and whispered, he knows. Or he suspects. If I ignore the order, they'll definitely know something's wrong, Ryker said quietly. If I go, I might be able to slow them down. Sayla's jaw tightened. And if they're waiting for you? Ryker met her gaze. Then you'll know. And you run. She grabbed his wrist before he could turn away. Ryker, don't do anything stupid. He smiled weakly. Too late for that. Command Center. Captain Darian Holt stood behind his desk, arms folded, expression unreadable. The door slid shut behind Ryker with a cold hiss. You took long enough, Holt said. Ryker stayed silent. He couldn't risk a lie. Holt always sensed lies. Without warning, Holt activated a privacy field. A shimmering bubble of silence enveloped them. Ryker stiffened. Whatever was happening, it wasn't an arrest. Finally, Holt spoke, not as a captain, but as a man tired of carrying a buried truth. Commander, I know what Lieutenant Commander Sayla is. Ryker's blood ran cold. I've known since the day she arrived, Holt continued. I recognized the signs. My daughter had one of those marks. Ryker blinked. Your daughter? Holt nodded slowly. She was taken by the Hilari's secret program 18 years ago. They told me she died in an accident. His eyes hardened. It was a lie. I learned the truth too late. When I found her, she was changed. Controlled. Not the girl I raised. Ryker swallowed thickly. I'm sorry. Holt waved it off. I've spent years collecting evidence, rising through ranks, waiting for a moment like this. A chance to expose what the Hilari did. To save others they marked as disposable. He stepped around the desk and lowered his voice. I want to help Selah. Ryker stared at him, barely believing it. Why? Holt's jaw tightened. Because I couldn't save my daughter. But I can save someone else. He pulled up a screen displaying the device carried by scientist Nairi. This, Holt said, tapping the image, is the control hub. The command trigger. It can activate or deactivate the obsidian mark. Ryker leaned in. Deactivate it permanently? If modified correctly, yes. But you'd need access to it. Ryker already knew what that meant, and Holt confirmed it. Selah must appear to surrender, Holt said. Once they bring her near the device, you disrupt it. Flip the signal. Destroy their control. Ryker shook his head instantly. No, that's too dangerous. If they sense anything wrong, they'll kill her before we can act. Doing nothing, Holt replied flatly. We'll kill her for certain. Ryker looked away, jaw clenched. Holt placed a hand on his shoulder. You care for her, Holt said quietly. Anyone can see that. But if you truly want to save her, you must trust her strength. Ryker breathed out slowly. And after that, I have already contacted the Alliance. They are arriving earlier than scheduled. With evidence from Nairi's device, they can expose the entire program. Ryker felt a spark of hope. Small, fragile, but real. Holt deactivated the privacy field. Go. Tell her. Prepare her. Ryker nodded and left the command room, determination hardening inside him. Back in the tunnels, Selah waited exactly where he left her. When Ryker emerged from the shadows, she immediately saw the change in his face. What did he say? She whispered. Ryker stepped closer and lowered his voice. He knows everything. And he wants to help. Selah's eyes widened. Help? What? Because he lost someone to the same program. Ryker took her hand carefully. He has a plan to free you. Her breath caught. Free. A word she had never dared to imagine for herself. What must I do? She asked. Ryker swallowed. You have to let them take you. Just long enough for me to break their control. Selah closed her eyes for a moment, then nodded. Slow, steady, brave. Then, I will do it. She looked at him, fear and courage tangled in her glowing eyes. Ryker, if this goes wrong. It won't, he said firmly. How can you be sure? He stepped closer, cupped her cheek gently. Because I'm not losing you. Not now. Not ever. Her voice trembled. Then let us finish this. As they moved deeper into the tunnels to set their trap, the hunt continued above them. But now, for the first time, they weren't just running. They were fighting back. The plan began in silence. No alarms, no chases, no desperate sprinting through dark metal tunnels. Just Selah, walking toward her own captors. She moved through the station corridors with her spine straight, her face calm, her steps steady. But Ryker, watching from the shadows of a maintenance hatch, could see the tremor in her fingers when she thought no one was looking. He wanted to run to her, grab her hand, tell her they could still flee. But they both knew running would end in her death. Holt's voice whispered in Ryker's earpiece. Remember, Commander, we only get one chance. Ryker's heart pounded so hard he thought it might echo through the metal walls. Selah entered the conference room. Inside waited the Hilari delegation. Ambassador Ryland standing cold and tall, Director Vaylor with his steel-hard glare, and Scientist Nairi gripping the glowing tablet like a leash. As Selah stepped inside, Nairi's device pulsed, the light turning sharply crimson. There, Nairi whispered. The signal is strong. She is the one. Director Vaylor's smile was thin and cruel. Unit S-3. You should have known you cannot hide forever. Selah stood in the center of the room, chin lifted. My name is Lieutenant Commander Selah Varen. Your false name, Vaylor corrected. Your purpose is to obey. Nothing more. Ryker clenched his jaw so hard it hurt. Nairi lifted the control tablet, preparing activation sequence. Selah closed her eyes. She had felt this agony before, screaming pain in every nerve, forced obedience, the burning weight of chains she could never break. But today, she wasn't alone. Ryker whispered into his mic, "Now, Holt." Dropped the signal dampener. A sharp static pulse hummed through the vents, a hidden override Holt installed hours ago. Nairi frowned at her tablet. "Strange, the pattern is fluctuating." Vaylor snapped, "Just activate it." Nairi pressed the trigger. The device glowed. Sayla braced. Ryker held his breath. And then, instead of pain, she felt lightness. The burning pattern in her spine flickered, sputtered, and then died. Not shut down temporarily. Not weakened. Gone. Sayla gasped softly, hand flying to her back. It felt empty. Quiet. Free. Director Vaylor's expression twisted. "What did you do?" Before anyone could answer, the conference room doors hissed open. Captain Holt entered with a line of armored Alliance security officers, followed by Ambassador Kieran of the Galactic Alliance, stern and purposeful. "Security Council Vaylor," Kieran said coldly. "You and your team are under investigation for violations of Alliance Law 17G, illegal experimentation on sentient children. Stand down." Vaylor's shock froze him. "This is internal Hellari business. You have no authority." "Actually," Holt cut in, "I invited them." He stepped forward and handed Kieran a data drive, containing everything Ryker stole and everything Holt collected over 15 years. Nairi paled. That was restricted information. "And now it's evidence," Holt replied. Ryker emerged from the shadows behind the officers. His presence made Sayla's heart hitch. For just a moment the fear left her eyes, replaced by something warm. Alliance guards surrounded the Hellari delegation. "This is an act of treason," Vaylor roared. Kieran smiled without warmth. "No, this is justice." As the guards moved to restrain them, Vaylor snarled and reached for Sayla, as if she still belonged to him. Ryker stepped in front of her instantly. "Touch her, and I swear you won't leave this room standing." Vaylor froze. Not because of Ryker's threat, but because Sayla stepped forward herself. For the first time in her life, she spoke to him without fear. "You no longer control me," she said quietly. "You never will again." Her voice was calm, steady, powerful. The Alliance guards dragged Vaylor and his team away, their protests echoing through the hall. The moment they were gone, Sayla turned to Ryker. "It worked," she whispered. "I felt it break." Ryker exhaled shakily, relief flooding him. "You're safe." Her eyes softened. "You kept your promise." He stepped closer. "I told you. I'm not losing you." For the first time since she arrived on Helion Station, Sayla felt the weight she'd carried for years begin to lift. Not because she had escaped, but because someone had chosen to fight for her. She reached out and took Ryker's hand. "And I'm not running anymore," she whispered. Ryker squeezed her hand gently. "Good. Because we're not done yet." She tilted her head. "What happens now?" Ryker's smile was small but certain. "Now," he said. "Now we take back your life." Freedom was supposed to feel simple, light, peaceful. But for Sayla Varen, the first hours after her mark was deactivated felt unreal, like she was walking through a dream she didn't trust yet. The Alliance medical wing on Helion Station glowed bright with soft white lights. Machines hummed quietly. Officers in blue uniforms moved with calm purpose. For the first time in 15 years, Sayla wasn't hiding in shadows or watching over her shoulder. She sat on a medical bed while an Alliance doctor scanned the faint scar on her back. "It's truly inactive," the doctor confirmed, eyes wide. "No neural signals. No embedded commands. It's dead." Sayla let out a slow, shaky breath. "Dead." The word echoed in her chest like a blessing. Ryker stood nearby, arms crossed, eyes fixed on her as if guarding her from the air itself. "Did it hurt?" he asked softly. "Only for a second," she said, touching the healed skin. "Feels strange. Like losing something that wasn't mine to begin with." "Good. You shouldn't have carried it." She looked at him then, really looked at him, and saw the exhaustion behind his smile. The worry he tried to hide. The bruises under his eyes from nights without sleep. "You risked everything," she whispered. "Your rank. Your life. Your future." Ryker stepped closer, lowering his voice. "You think I care about any of that?" Before she could respond, the door slid open and Ambassador Kieran entered with Captain Holt. "Lieutenant Commander," Kieran said warmly. "I'm here to inform you that the Alliance Council has granted you full protection. Not as a fugitive, but as a victim and survivor." Sayla blinked. "Protection? What does that mean exactly?" "It means," Holt interrupted gently, You will not be returned to the Halari government under any circumstances. You're officially under Alliance asylum. Sayla's breath caught. I'm free. As free as anyone can be, Kieran said. You will have your own quarters, your own identity, and a new position in the Alliance Science Division. Science Division? Sayla repeated. Holt smiled. You're brilliant, Sayla. It's time the galaxy saw that. She swallowed hard. For so long, she had lived behind masks and lies. Now they were offering her something she had never dared to imagine. A place, a purpose, a life. And Ryker? She asked quietly. Kieran exchanged a look with Holt before answering. Commander Hale is a key witness. And a hero. His record will remain untarnished. Ryker stepped forward with a small smile. Told you I wasn't losing anything. Sayla felt a laugh bubble in her throat, the first real one in years. But Kieran's expression sobered. There is one more thing. Sayla tensed. Director Vaylor's faction is furious, he continued. The ones responsible for the Obsidian program. They lost their control over you, and their secrets are now in Alliance hands. Ryker's jaw tightened. They'll retaliate. We expect they will try, Holt said. But you are under full Alliance protection. They won't reach you. Sayla nodded slowly. She believed them, or tried to, but part of her still felt the old fear curling in her stomach. After the officials left, Ryker remained beside her bed. You okay? He asked. She looked up at him, silver eyes reflecting the soft clinic light. I don't know how to be free, she admitted. My choices were always made for me. Then let's start small, Ryker said gently. Choose something simple. Something for yourself. She thought for a moment. I want to walk, she decided. Ryker blinked. Walk? Yes, she said with a growing smile. Through the station. Without hiding. Without fear. Ryker offered his hand. Then let's walk. They left the medical wing and stepped into the wide glass corridor overlooking the glowing lava planet below. Sayla slowed, her breath catching as she realized. No alarms. No hunters. No scanners. Just the hum of the station and the warmth of Ryker's hand around hers. She stopped and turned toward him. You changed everything, she whispered. Ryker shook his head. No, you did. She stepped closer. So close he could feel her cool breath on his skin. I was surviving, she said softly. Not living. But with you. I feel like I finally can. Ryker's voice lowered. Then stay. Stay in the Alliance. Stay on this ship. Stay with me. Sayla reached up and touched his cheek, her eyes bright with something new. Hope. I want that, she whispered. He leaned in, their foreheads touching, the moment soft and quiet. For the first time in her life, Sayla felt her future opening like a door she never knew existed. Her past was pain, her present was freedom, and her future might finally be hers. Little did she know, the galaxy was not done with her story. 6 months later, the galaxy looked different to Sayla Varen. Not because the stars had changed, but because she had. She stood on the observation balcony of the Alliance flagship Astronova, watching streaks of white-blue warp light bend across the window. Her new science uniform, dark navy with silver trim, fit her shoulders like it had been made exactly for her. Maybe it had. Behind her, footsteps approached, steps she could recognize anywhere. Ryker. His reflection appeared in the glass before he did, smiling in that warm, quiet way he always did when he saw her. Admiring the view? He asked, stepping beside her. Yes, she said softly. It still feels unreal. He leaned on the railing with her. You're getting awards now. Giving lectures. Designing propulsion breakthroughs. I'd say you've earned unreal. Sayla breathed slowly, watching the drift of stars. I used to think freedom would feel like noise, she murmured. Loud. Overwhelming. She placed a hand on her chest. But instead, it feels peaceful. Ryker turned toward her, eyes soft. You built that peace. You fought for it. She shook her head gently. No, we fought for it. There was a comfortable silence between them, the kind only two people who survived hell together could share. Finally, Ryker cleared his throat. Sayla, can I ask something? She smiled slightly. You usually do. He hesitated, something rare for him, then said, Are you happy? Truly? With this life, with this ship with me? Sayla turned fully toward him. He wasn't the same Ryker who once hid behind jokes and engineering reports. He was still bold, still stubborn, still too reckless for his own good. But now he carried something deeper, something steadier. Ryker Hale, she said, stepping closer. You once risked your entire career for a woman you barely knew. Worth it, he answered instantly. She laughed softly and placed her hand against his chest. And you still think you need to ask if I'm happy? Ryker's throat tightened. Sayla, come with me, she said suddenly. She took his hand and guided him down the hall, past officers saluting her, past scientists greeting her with respect, past the life she had earned step by cautious step. They stopped outside a quiet door. Sayla looked up at him, her expression softening into something vulnerable. I haven't told anyone yet, she whispered. Not even Captain Holt. Ryker raised an eyebrow. Told anyone what? With a deep breath, she opened the door. Inside was a small room with softly glowing walls, warm yellow lights, and screens showing gentle waves of a distant ocean. A cradle-shaped diagnostic pod sat at the center. Ryker blinked, confused, until Sayla lifted his hand and placed it carefully on her abdomen. Under his palm, a faint warmth pulsed. A small, steady heartbeat. Ryker's breath caught. Sayla, is that? Yes, she whispered. A new life. He stared at her, eyes wide, voice barely a whisper. Our child. Sayla nodded, her eyes shimmering. A miracle, the doctors said. Human and Helari genetics are rarely compatible. But somehow we were. Ryker didn't speak. He couldn't. He pulled her into his arms, holding her tightly, not out of fear, not out of desperation, but with a tenderness he had never shown anyone. She closed her eyes, breathing him in. For the first time in my life, Sayla whispered, my future isn't something forced on me. It's something I choose. Ryker cupped her face in his hands. And what have you chosen? She smiled, radiant, soft, certain. You. This ship. This child. This life. He kissed her then, slow and deep, not with the urgency of hiding in tunnels or the desperation of running from hunters, but with the calm certainty of two people who finally had a future. When they pulled apart, Sayla rested her forehead against his. You once asked if I was happy, she whispered. Now I am. Completely. Ryker held her close, his voice steady. I'll keep you safe. Both of you. Always. Outside the ship, the stars stretched endlessly, bright, open, waiting. Sayla looked at the infinite horizon and felt something she never thought she would feel. Hope. Real, unshakable hope. She laced her fingers with Ryker's. We survived the past, she said softly. Now let's build the future. And together, beneath the shifting lights of warp space, they stepped into the next chapter of their lives. No longer fugitives, no longer hunted, but finally, beautifully free.